All right, what's up, y'all? What's up, Acolyte Squad? My name is Prince, and I'm an urban acolyte. This is late night acolyte for y'all. Of course, it's early morning. Well, it's not early. It's 10 a.m. I wanted to hop on here earlier, but I had a call with my real estate agent to get the ball rolling on getting my house sold back in the states. But anyway, I don't know. I might pull this video later. I kind of wanted to brainstorm uh, or talk out a video that I've been trying to get written and edited and recorded and edited, or a series of videos regarding Moff Gideon for like the last 2 months. So this video might come down uh, later on. What's up, Chris? But anyway, I think Moff Gideon is force sensitive. I've been kind of hinting at it. I've said it. I have a video that I like have an outline of, and I need to fill in the outline where it's like the three reasons I think that Moff Gideon is force sensitive. And that's not something that just came to me. It's something that I thought about ever since the finale of season one of The Mandalorian. I mean, yes, we see him using the Darksaber, but then after heading into season two, Giancarlo Esposito was doing interviews. He said that he would be using the Darksaber a lot in season two, and I mean, does that a confirmation he's force sensitive? I mean, Tar Vizsla used the not Tar Vizsla. Tar Vizsla was obviously a Jedi. Pre Vizsla used the Darksaber. Um, in the Clone Wars, he dueled Obi-Wan Kenobi and lost. He dueled Darth Maul and lost his head. Um, Sabine Wren used the dark saber in a fight. Uh, the guy she fought, uh, um, not Vizsla, but who was the Emperor's hand? I can't even think of his name off the top of my head right now. But that guy, like she dueled him. He had the dark saber. She used Ezra's lightsaber in their duel, and she defeated him. And then Sabine's mom shot him in the chest, right? Because he was going to shoot Sabine in the back. So we've seen people who aren't force sensitive use the dark saber, but the fact that it sounds like we're going to have Ahsoka Tano in season two of The Mandalorian, and the trailer is supposed to be up tomorrow during the Lakers game, the Lakers Blazers game halftime. The trailer for season two. If you hadn't heard it already, you're hearing it now. Um, Corey, Noah, and Corey at whatever their podcast is called, they said that last week, as they predicted it, sometime last week or earlier this week, that the trailer would go up during the NBA. Well, actually, yeah, a while back they said the trailer would probably go up during the NBA playoffs, and then a few days ago they said probably during the Lakers game on the 21st. And then Grace Randolph earlier today said that um, Grace Randolph earlier today said it would be during halftime of the Lakers Blazers game tomorrow night for y'all, tomorrow morning for me. So I don't know. I don't know how I'm gonna do a reaction video. My wife would probably be asleep. Hell, I might still be asleep. But anyway, so I mean, I mentioned Moff Gideon, me thinking Moff Gideon could be force sensitive before, and people were like, no, if he was force sensitive, then he would have been an Inquisitor. And I was like, think about the Inquisitors. They were the people in Inquisitorius were former Jedi. The people who were like Zer Leone's sister, she was going through the academy, Imperial Academy, and she got handpicked to be part of the Inquisitorius. But Moff Gideon is an old dude, right? I mean, look, he's a Moff, right? So that would mean that he was already in the military uh, during the time of the Republic, right? He's up there with Tarkin, right? Tarkin didn't go through no Imperial Academy. Tarkin uh, was in the militia on his planet. It starts with an E. I can't think of the name of it off the top of my head. All right, and Tarkin was already part of the military under the Republic, and the Republic became the Empire. That'd be the same case for Moff Gideon. So then, well, then he would have been a Jedi. He wouldn't have been anything. He could have come from an outer rim. I mean, Anakin was the chosen one, and had it not been for Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan, and Padme and all of them going and doing an emergency landing on Tatooine, they never would have located Anakin, right? So the whole thing there is he could have just been from a planet where the Jedi didn't have a presence, didn't have any jurisdiction to go there and start recruiting kids, or maybe his parents were like, you know what? No, we don't want him to be a Jedi. We want our son. We want to raise him. Maybe he was an orphan and just nobody. There's ways for him to slide under the radar and the Jedi to not locate him. Right? He could have belonged to another religion where they were like, no, we don't like the Jedi, right? We want to keep our own. We got a different view and a philosophical view of the Force. We don't like y'all. And, uh, like with the little girl that Ahsoka Tano meets or kind of lives with their family for a while after the events of Order 66, right? That merchant family she was staying with, their 4-year-old daughter was force sensitive, and she's sitting here, playing with her toys and making them levitate and everything. And she, oh, look at me, like the kid, the Sparrow kid at the end of Umbrella Academy. That's why it's going to be the Sparrow Academy next season. If because people are like, why are they going to call it the Sparrow Academy? Because the little autistic boy that what's her name that Vanya gave her powers to, he was levitating the little sparrow toy that he had. That's why it's going to be the Sparrow Academy. See, my friend Ash is he told me he wants me to do Umbrella Academy. All these Marvel videos, he was like, bro, you just need to put everything on one channel. Uh, so that's kind of letting y'all know. I know what's up with the Umbrella Academy. I finally saw it, and I was like, man, I got something to say about this, but I don't know if I have time to say it. Um, but so she's doing like Sparrow Boy, levitating her toys, and Ahsoka was, after she kills that one Inquisitor, and takes the crystals from his little helicopter lightsaber thing, and purifies them to have her white lightsabers. She tells the girl's family that, look, the force is strong with her, but there's nobody around to train her, and eventually she'll just forget about it and move on, right? That's another thing. You can use the force without any training. So for all the, I've been saying that for years. For all the Ray did this and she had no training. Ray had hours of training. Even Luke Skywalker in the new book that came out about Luke Skywalker, he says like children have no they have no tie to the dark side, light side. They're balanced, and they just use the force without any training, just instinctively, right? So that's why little baby Yoda can heal and he can force choke people. And well, I think that he had Jedi training before they put no, no. Just accept it. Just go with it, right? You got the force, you can use it, right? So in the case of Moff Gideon, if he's force sensitive and he's an ISB agent, think about that now. You work in intelligence. You're like FBI, CIA. You're doing investigations. Think about, you're like a kind of like a spy, and you've got the force, and you can sense things about people. You can read people better than most. Hell, you might even be able to pull thoughts from their mind. I mean, like, you're interrogating somebody and you know if they're lying or not because you can pull their thoughts from their mind, right? Palpatine sees a dude like Moff Gideon and knows he's got the Force. The Force is strong with him, right? Because everybody's like, if he's got the Force, then why wouldn't he be an Inquisitor? Why would you make him like he's not had that Jedi training? Why wouldn't you take your best people and put them in positions to succeed? Right? Think about Tarkin. Tarkin went through this trial similar to like the Jedi trials or becoming a Sith. Right? That's what we get the Tarkin novel. That's what we learn about Tarkin. Why uh why Palpatine wanted Vader to see that, look, Tarkin might not have the same gifts and talents that you have, but he has gifts and talents, and y'all have a shared experience, right? His family put him through this rite of passage, similar to your Jedi trials, and that's why I trust him. That's why he's that guy, right? You take a guy like Moff Gideon, who may have that talent, right? You put him in a position, you put your best people where you want them, right? He's an ISB agent who worked his way up to being a Moff. Now, I I think this is another interesting angle that they could go with the Moff Gideon character. Remember, there was a series called the Jedi Prince series, right? I have a love-hate relationship with the Jedi Prince series because if you read the Jedi Prince series and then you look at the sequel trilogy, and I talked about this in 2016 when I first read it, Pablo Hidalgo said, I don't want to hear any Savior Snoke theories. Read the Jedi Prince theory uh, series and then get back to me, right? And that's how I read it. And then I did a video, is Rey the Jedi Princess? You can search it on my channel after I get off of here, right? And then I brought it up again in my Rise of Skywalker review. I said, all right, Pablo Hidalgo may have trolled us because this whole thing turned into the Jedi Prince series. The Jedi Prince series, you had this Jedi who was literally a prince. His mother was a princess who became a Jedi. She left the Jedi Order during the Clone Wars, before the Purge. She married a guy. She married a dude, had a kid, and they hid the kid in this lost city of the Jedi, this underground city on Yavin 4. Kid's father turns out to be Palpatine's mutant son, who's uh, who's a Cyclops, right? He's got an eye I think an eye in the back of his head or something like that. Yeah, he's got an eye in the back of his head, right? He's a mutant, Palpatine's mutant son. So this kid, his name is Ken, and he thinks it's Ken Kenobi. He thinks he's a Kenobi. He thinks Obi-Wan Kenobi's his father or something, right? But his mother's name is like Candelabra, Princess Candelabra, something like that, and he's Ken for short for Candelabra, right? So Luke Skywalker takes this kid under his wing, and like the kid doesn't learn that he's a Palpatine until the last book in the series, right? And then it's like, oh, I can't believe I'm a Palpatine and this is bad. And they bond with Luke because it's like, look, my father's Darth Vader, your grandfather is Emperor Palpatine, but that doesn't mean you still can't do, good, right? And it's, I told y'all, I said this in my Rise of Skywalker review. It's like, holy shit, as JJ decides that to make Ray a Palpatine, I was like, like I'm sitting in the movie theater next to Nisa. Of course, I don't say it to her because she doesn't care about Star Wars. And I'm like, damn it, they just turned this into Jedi Prince. Every time I said Ray is not a Palpatine, Ray Palpatine theory is not gonna happen because they've already told that story in the Jedi Prince series, and that's why it's not gonna happen. And then, damn it, that's exactly why it happened because the sequel saga was the Jedi Prince series. But if you go back to my video, I think 5 reasons Snoke is a fraud, or 3 reasons. Basically, a video where I thought Snoke was a fraud. I also referenced the Jedi Prince series, and I said, look, in the Jedi Prince series, you had this dude who set himself up to be the Emperor. Um, People thought he had the Force, but he was really an ISB agent, and all of the Force stealing thoughts and all the stuff that he do, that he said, oh, I divine this knowledge from the dark side of the Force. It was really, he was an ISB agent, and he was fake. The dude that he took down, that they thought he took down because of the Force, was pretending to be Palpatine's son, right? Um, I thought Gallius Rax might be a version of Trioculus, right? Uh, that was all Jedi Prince stuff. I'm saying all of that because look, we had an ISB agent who was pretending to be Force sensitive. What if this time around you have an ISB agent who actually does have the Force and he's trying to learn how to use that power? Additionally, Giancarlo Esposito in an interview, I'm actually when I yeah, I am gonna pull this video because I'm gonna flesh this stuff out, and but I wanted to get it out there in case I can't get it out before the Mandalorian trailer, right? Um, but Giancarlo Esposito had an interview last month, and he asked a question, and I think I put this on the community tab. Um, am I Vader's heir? And yeah, I did. And people read the what I posted, and they're like, "No, there's no way he's Vader's son." And I'm like, "Do y'all understand what he's saying? The heir to Vader, that reference, that kind of, I'm not gonna say references, but all right. So there was this idea in the Jedi Prince series. It's the first book in the series, the Glove of Darth Vader. Whoever found the glove of Darth Vader would become Vader's heir, right? They believed that if you wore the glove, you would basically become invincible, right? In the glove of Darth Vader, that was the hand that Luke Skywalker cut off on the Death Star. Anybody who found the glove of Darth Vader would become Vader's heir. They would lead the Empire, right? So is he Vader's heir, right? Is that referring to Trioculus? Trioculus was also a Moff, right? He was a Moff, and he claimed to be Palpatine's son. He found the glove of Vader. It made him sick, so he had to like fake it, and that started his downfall. How the dark side priests, who were all actually ISB agents, eventually took him out. They tried to kill him. I think they did end up killing him, but I can't remember. Right? All of this is it's like I'm hearing this and I'm like, wait a minute, are we getting Jedi Prince all over again? Like the other side where you got a Moff who tries to become the leader of the Empire. Of course, we know the Empire, the remnant of the Empire by now is already in the unknown regions. They're like becoming the First Order, but not everybody left, right? Some people were still operating in the known galaxy, loyal to the First Order, but still doing their thing. Some people became warlords, like the guy who actually became an ISB agent with the First Order in the Poe Dameron comic book. But then he had his own little crew, and at some point he was like, you know what? Screw you guys, I'm going home. Right? He went back to his little gang that he had started. Right? But from his story, we learned that there were all kinds of imperial outposts where some people were out there waiting for the Empire to come and get them still. Yeah, Terex, Agent Terex. Um, People established themselves as warlords in parts of the unknown regions where the New Republic it just ignored, right? Moff Gideon, he's like, look, I'm a Moff, and I'm not letting go I'm not seizing control of my territory, right? I'm here, and that's it, and I'm the law here, and that's the bottom line, because Moff Gideon says so, right? Um, but it would be an interesting idea if you take this whole idea of this Moff who found the glove of Vader and declared himself the leader of the Empire. This guy, in a different sense, maybe he just came into the realization that he has the Force. And now he's got the Darksaber, right? And now I am something like the new Vader, the new Palpatine, right? And as I on my quest for understanding this talent and this power that I possess, right? I am the ultimate power. And maybe it is up to me to rebuild the empire once I understand this power that I have and and to go and crush the new republic. And I really literally will be the new Vader. Maybe he's one of these people, these loyalists to Vader who felt that Vader should have been the one to rule the Empire, right? Because there were pockets within the Empire who believed that, who believed that Vader would have been a better leader, or Palpatine had other people that he had eyed to be his apprentice if Vader fell. How do we know that Moff Gideon wasn't one of them, right? Palpatine had Gallius Rax out there, his little pet project, who was in a high position within the Imperial Navy that we knew nothing about. Gallius Rax was tasked with um, carrying out the contingency plan. But Gallius Rax was like, "Yo, man, I'm doing all of this," I, but obviously this contingency plan was to set me up and establish me as Palpatine's heir, and Ray Sloan ended up killing him in the aftermath finale on Jakku in that Imperial outpost. Uh, but how do we know that Moff Gideon wasn't another one of those parts of the contingency plan as well? This will be my new apprentice in the event that Vader falls or I have to kill Vader or something like that, right? We don't know. Every day we're uncovering new plans that Palpatine has, right? So there's all kinds of possibilities for Moff Gideon to be a force-sensitive person who held a high-ranking position within the Empire and not to have been an Inquisitor, right? Because I mean, look at Leia. Leia was walking around. Nobody said anything to her. Nobody did anything to her. She's walking around Anakin's freaking daughter, you know. And she met Palpatine, right? She was going to stuff on Coruscant all the time, you know, in her position, you know, a junior senator and the Princess of Alderaan, right? She was on Coruscant in the Lost Stars novel. She danced with Thane Kyrell, right? Wasn't Palpatine at that little banquet or whatever? So, like everybody, surely if he was, there's no way it could be this. Hey man, there's surely nothing, right? The, there's always some way for somebody to have not been a Jedi, or not, been an Inquisitor, to have not been this. Don't get locked into any possibility, because the minute you lock yourself into this is the only possibility, this is the only outcome, then you can't see the other possibilities. That was one of the lessons that Rey tried to pass on to Luke Skywalker, and Yoda also said to Luke Skywalker was, you're always looking to the horizon, but you don't see the knee in front of your nose, meaning you're not paying attention to the step that you're taking right now. Ray said, your problem is that you decided that his fate was already sealed, right? Instead of being open to the possibility, this is one of an infinite number of outcomes for Ben Solo, right? I said this yesterday on a live stream that Anakin made the same mistake. I saw my mother dying. You saw your mother dying because, yes, she was probably going to die because the Sand people, had tortured her, right? But what you saw was when she died in your arms, right? After you rescued her, you saw Padme dying. You saw Padme dying because you did all this other stuff, and then you thought she was having an affair with Obi-Wan Kenobi. That's in the Revenge of the Sith novel, not something that was in the movie. And then you force choked her when she came to save you from getting your limbs chopped off and getting tossed into a volcano and getting your nuts burnt to a crisp, turned them into little charcoal balls. Man, I hate you. Right? Um, so it's like you locked into that reality, that outcome, and you couldn't see the other possibilities, right? That's something. That's one of the lessons in Star Wars that you can take to real life, right? Is it fans? We get locked into this one possibility, this one point of view, and we can't see the other possibilities, the other outcomes. Right? I had somebody comment, uh, and it was a very well thought out post. They commented on why they didn't like The Last Jedi. Right? And as I'm reading it, I'm like, well, those are your reasons, but the things you're saying aren't really true from your point of view, right? Bruce Lee said that, but actually, that the Buddha actually said the don't focus on the finger or you'll miss all the heavenly glory actually came from the Buddha, right? Bruce Lee said it in the movie, but that's actually a Buddhist thing, right? Buddha said that. Right? Don't focus on the finger or you'll miss all the heavenly glory, right? That's focusing on a minor detail, you miss the bigger picture. But at the same time, you can look at the bigger picture and miss the finger right in front of you, right? It works both ways. The whole point is to keep your options open. Open your mind, right? Don't get locked into just one particular way of thinking, right? Because that might not be the right view, right? All points of views are valid, right? Because you look at a diamond, everybody sees that diamond differently from whatever angle, whatever point of view, or the mountain in the Tao, right? The Tao symbol is really, the Taoists, the early Taoist hermits were mountain guys in the mountains, right? When they talked about the Tao, they were talking about a mountain and the way that the sun shines on the mountain. There's going to be a side of the mountain where the sun is shining on it, and if the sun is not shining on the other side, it's going to be dark, right? And that's the transition of yin and yang. Well, if you look at the mountain uh, from one angle, you're looking at the dark side. If you're looking at it from another side, you're looking at the light side, right? But is the mountain in the dark or is it in the light? It's both. It just depends on where you're looking at it and when you're looking at it. The position of the sun, right? It's dependent on a whole lot of things external to you, right? Just like the dark side and the light side of the force, right? That's why the guardians of the wheels and the brotherhood of the wheels, they just see the force, right? They see the dark and the light. The Jedi, at one time, saw the dark and the light. They became too focused on the light, and they allowed the dark to manipulate and control them because they were focused on one single point of view, and they locked out all the other possibilities, mostly out of fear of succumbing or being seduced by the dark side, right? Too many mystics were falling to the dark side because they were getting too attached to their premonitions and their visions, right? So then they just outlawed all mysticism. They were like, oh, you had a vision in the force? Nope, we're throwing that stuff out, right? That was Jedi's downfall. You learn that in the Dooku book audio drama. Now it's a book, right? That there's a lot of gems in that. Some of it I didn't like because I felt like they turned the Jedi temple into uh, Hogwarts, but they dropped they dropped some dimes in it too, right? So getting back to Moff Gideon, the whole lock in, lock out principle. If you say if he's force sensitive, he had to be an inquisitor. He's force sensitive. Why wasn't he a Jedi? Right? Just stay open to the possibility that there are any number of reasons for why he never became a Jedi. Why to be an inquisitor, he would have had to have been a Jedi, right? To go to the Inquisitorius through the Imperial Academy, he would have to have been a young person, and Moff Gideon is not young, right? He's not young. He would have already have been in the military uh, when the Empire took hold, right? He was an ISB agent, uh, so he probably worked in intelligence for the Republic. The Republic became the Empire. Then he goes from, or he could have been somewhere else, because wasn't uh, Colonel Yularen, he was part of the Republic Navy, and then when the Empire took over, then he moved over to the ISB, right? So the only thing we can assume about Moff Gideon is that he was in the military, and then the Empire came in, and he became part of, intelligence, the Imperial Security Bureau, right? He became an ISB agent. He was there on Mandalore. Mandalore, how long he'd been on Mandalore, who knows? Probably the entire time that the Empire was there, and when during the Mandalorian Civil War, that Sabine kicked off in Rebels. Uh, at some point, he crushed that, and he was able to acquire the Darksaber. I'm sure we'll get the story of how that happened in season two, especially if we're going to see Bo-Katan Kryze, whether Katie Sackhoff is in a flashback or she's going to be an ongoing character in the narrative, as far as uh, the possible restoration of Mandalore or Mandalorian culture or whatever, or Mandalorians coming out of the shadows and trying to become something of a presence in the galaxy again. Who knows? Um, we didn't hear anything about them during the sequel saga, but the sequel saga, just like the original saga, really just focuses on the Skywalkers and what they're doing. So maybe Mandalorians showed up in the Rise of Skywalker to help take down the First Order. We don't know right now. Um, or they could still be in the process of their restoration. Right. I've been doing so much with Final Fantasy. I keep wanting to say Ish Guardian restoration, right? Any of y'all that play Final Fantasy 14, you'll know what I'm talking about. For those of y'all, if you're starting to check out the Final Fantasy series that I have running, what I was trying to do with Star Wars Old Republic with the Machinima thing and documenting the story, I'm actually doing that with the Final Fantasy series, and I need to get back to those videos. But the whole me mentioning Ishgard and all of that, it won't make sense until I get the Heavens Ward. If you're following it, or if it picks up steam and y'all start following it later. Right now I'm cool because the videos are actually getting more views on this channel than they were on my gaming channel. And I'm gonna have some cool Final Fantasy story discussions that like highlight the hero's journey, because it's deep in Final Fantasy, and the people that like me to talk about like religion stuff is deep in Final Fantasy. This is just a tangent. And I'll get back to Moff Gideon, but I'm gonna have to face a primal in once I start to kind of get to the Ishgard stuff, named Garuda. Um, and I just got curious because when I uploaded the video about why I left Star Wars Old Republic for Final Fantasy 14 on the other channel, somebody commented, uh, "How could you leave something with as much lore and lightsabers as Star Wars for Final Fantasy?" And I was like, the lore in Final Fantasy is actually deeper than Star Wars. So Garuda is she's a primal worshipped by the Ixtali. They're like bird reptile beast. They're a beast tribe of like big bird reptile. Well, birds are reptiles, so I'm like kind of being repetitive. But they're reptiles with feathers, right? And they're big, but they can't fly. And they worship Garuda, and Garuda can fly. Well, if you know anything about Hindu deities, Garuda is Garuda's like the chariot driver for Shiva, right? Kind of a bodyguard for Shiva, like Lord Shiva. And then Garuda is actually everywhere here in Thailand because on all the official documents, you see Garuda. Um, Thailand has this huge Hindu influence, especially with like the monarchy. So Garuda is like the symbol of the king here in Thailand. So this guy's like, oh, the Final Fantasy's lore is not as rich as Star Wars. I'm like, bro, everywhere I go, I see something that ties directly into Final Fantasy, right? I even mentioned Shiva. There's another primal. He's like a combination of Odin, Zeus, and Shiva, right? He's basically Shiva, but they made him look like Odin, right? So they like mixed cultures or something, right? He's like the All Father, uh, but it's like he's got elements of Shiva and Odin, or Thor and Odin, if you want to go that route, right? Uh, Very interesting conversations to have regarding the primals. And if you're wondering what a primal is, actually, the Night Sister Night Sister magic is very similar to um, some of the stuff these shamans do as far as summoning primals in Final Fantasy 14. In the Book of the Sith, the Night Sister magic, what they do is they manipulate the Force by through this form of shamanism, through calling on the power of the son and the daughter on Mortis, right? They talk about the Griffin, which is the daughter, and the serpent, which is the sun, right? So serpent power, dark magic, griffin power, light magic, the daughter and the son, right? So you go and you look at that video again, where I was like, uh, I said Final Fantasy does Star Wars better than Star Wars does, right? And then you got in every Final Fantasy game, apparently you have a Wedge and a Biggs, Wedge and Biggs, two pilots. Uh, I got Wedge and Biggs in Final Fantasy 14. So, very interesting lore, great story um, that I can't wait to share with you guys. But back to this Moff Gideon thing. Um, Go back if you got Disney Plus, or actually you could just look at it on YouTube. Go back and look at when he used the dark saber, when he cut himself out of the TIE fighter. And there's something weird about how the door falls off of the TIE fighter. That's when I first started thinking, did he use the force to open the TIE fighter? Because he didn't kick the door off. It just kind of fell to the side. And I started, maybe he used the force on that. I don't know. It was just kind of a hunch at the time. And then later, the whole thing about, you know, Moff Gideon saying, or Giancarlo Esposito saying, I'm going to be using the dark saber a lot, and I know what I'm doing, right? He knows what he's doing. Moff Gideon knows what he's doing when he's using this thing. I mean, we saw Agent Callus, he beat the brakes off of Zeb when they fought with the little those their rifles that turned into like some kind of like stun staff looking things. Beat the brakes off of Zeb. He almost killed him if it hadn't been for Ezra, you know, unleashing the Force and Force pushing Callus off of Zeb. So I'm fully aware that ISB agents probably know how to fight. Um, the the other kind of intelligence agents, that work they only work within the Empire. Um, what's the gay guy from Aftermath? Like he was a really good hand-to-hand fighter. So I imagine that they have had some training. They have been fighting. Uh, the fact that Moff Gideon is there on Mandalore, the way Mandalorians are, hey man, you can't be no punk if you around Mandalorians all the time. You policing them. So he's probably a tough dude. So it doesn't surprise me that he can probably fight. But just the fact that he's going to be using the dark saber and apparently he's going to be skilled with it, I'm thinking, he might have a little something extra behind him. Now, I'm not saying that I think he's a trained force user, that he's going to be using force lightning, right? The Knights of Ren, everybody was underwhelmed with them, and I was like, look, they all were force sensitive, but they don't have any training outside of using it for their particular talent, right? Now, against somebody like Kylo Ren, I mean, Kylo Ren was their leader, right? Of course, he's gonna wipe the floor with them. But you put them, if we had gotten to actually see them in action, against regular people, man, they would have destroyed like the regular people. Man, I'm spitting all over the place. They would have destroyed them, right? That's something you got to think about. Like that's what the Knights of Ren were doing. They were like terrorizing people in the unknown regions, going through just killing people, massacring them, slaughtering them. That's what they do, man. But against somebody, I mean, Luke Skywalker destroyed them in the first Kylo Ren comic book. Luke Skylo, Luke Skylo, Luke Skywalker fought all the Knights of Ren, and it was like y'all are nothing to me, right? Okay, you got the Force, but you got the gift, but you don't know how to use it. right? Luke Skywalker wiped the floor with all of them. Their leader pulled out his lightsaber. That's why they're the Knights of Ren. The lightsaber is the Ren, right? I was like, yo, man, when you find out who these guys really are, everybody, they got totally wasted. I'm like, no, they didn't really waste them. It would have been nice to see them in action against regular people, right? But, Ryan Johnson said, if I put the Knights of Ren in The Last Jedi, they all would have died. Now we know why. What's up, Keandre? You should be asleep, man. You should be asleep, birthday, man. I guess you're staying up late. It's your birthday. Hey, y'all tell Keandre happy birthday. I don't know. I'm a day ahead of you, so I think it's still your birthday. Yeah, man. Big, boy, you 20 now? I'm getting old. 20. Big 20-year-old Keandre. Happy birthday, dog. Hope you did something good for your birthday. Don't eat too much cake. Save some for tomorrow. Um, but just because he's force sensitive, it doesn't mean he's going to be out force pushing, doing everything else. It's just he's a little bit faster. His reflex is a little bit better. He's a step ahead of most folks. Maybe Ahsoka comes through, and you know he might give her a run for her money for a little bit, and then she has to beast mode on him, or maybe she doesn't, right? Because that's the problem with Ahsoka being in the Mandalorian, is that we want to see her do some cool stuff. We want to see Ahsoka show up and show out. But this is the Din Djarin Baby Yoda show, the child show. Baby Yoda. Until we get a name for the child, he's Baby Yoda. If people don't like it, I don't care, right? But uh, I want to see Ahsoka do something cool. Y'all want to see Ahsoka do something cool, um, but then will it make us forget all about Din Djarin and Baby Yoda? Or you know what? Let her do something cool, and then, oh, I'm off to. Well, she won't have Ashley Eckstein's voice, but I'll do it anyway. Oh, I'm off to my own adventure. I'll see you another time. And then we find out. Then the announcement a day or two later, after the episode is aired and the hype is kind of calmed down a little bit. Oh, Ahsoka will be back in uh, an animated show starting in January or March or something like that, or when the Mandalorian season 2 wraps up, right? And then I think Ahsoka's there to pitch her spinoff, whatever it might be, right? Um, so maybe she does show up and do something cool, but I don't. I would like for whatever's going on with Moff Gideon to be an ongoing thing. Um, don't do what Rebels did, where, well, it was all right that Rebels did this, but I was gonna say get rid of a cool villain too fast. The Grand Inquisitor was pretty cool, but like Rebel season 1 was short, and they got rid of him, and then it's like, oh, and now you've got these other Inquisitors coming after Kanan and Ezra, but it's like, yo, but Kanan beat the Grand Inquisitor. What are these other Inquisitors gonna do to Kanan? Like, he beat their boss. Of course, you had Vader coming after them too with these other Inquisitors. So I was like, maybe I give him a pass on that, because Vader, you know, Kanan beat the Grand Inquisitor. Vader beat all the Inquisitors. Vader beat all of them. You beat their leader, but he beat their leader and all of them and the whole crew, right? You could bring all the homies, right? Vader walked into the Inquisitorius like, all I see are dead men, and then Palpatine was like, Vader, don't kill them. We need them, right? Yeah, Vader was like, hey man, y'all. They dropped a walker on Vader, and Vader was like, all right. I felt a tickle, right? So so yeah. But anyway, I really feel like Moff Gideon would be force sensitive. Um, just looking at stories that have been told about similar characters, in similar situations where you had a guy who called himself Vader's heir. He was a Moff. He got taken out by an ISB agent pretending to have the Force. And it's just like, what if we roll all of this into one? We got an ISB agent who becomes a Moff. He feels like he's Vader's heir. Oh, and this time he actually does have the Force. Because what happened in Legends is they ended up retconning all of that stuff. And they were like, oh, yeah, remember I wish I could think of that guy's name. All of this is in a video about Snoke. So when I hop off of here, go look at that Snoke video. It's called like the 3 Reasons Snoke is a Fraud. It was from the right before the Rogue One trailer and all of that stuff came out. I remember recording the videos in my dining room. Summer 2016. 3 Reasons Snoke is a Fraud. Um, I talk, and the guys that I can't think of his name, I talk about all of that in there, right? So the dude, because Chronal was in that crew, right? The dark side priests were ISB agents, but then later the real dark side priests came in and they took these guys out, right? Because it was a little dwarf dude who was their leader, right? And he was like supreme, not supreme leader, but supreme something. Kadan. Kadan was his name. It's like Supreme something Kadan, like some Supreme Leader Kadan, right? And so Kadan was a fraud. He was an ISB agent. He was an intelligence agent. But then the real Kadan, who was a real dark side priest, comes and takes this guy out, right? So the real dude really did have the Force, right? And Chronal was a dark side priest, and and eventually Palpatine clones come back and legend stuff that I didn't read, right? So it's like, what if you have Kadan and instead of the whole fake Kadan, and what if you have Kadan and there's no dark side priest, but apparently, well, you have Sith cultists, so there weren't dark side priests, there were Sith cultists. You Tashu, right? I think the dark side priests in from of because wasn't didn't we used to say that like Palpatine's advisors were dark side prophets. They were like the picture of Palpatine with all of his little advisors in Legends. They said they were all dark side prophets of the dark side. Now they're Sith cultists. So all the Legends stuff. So that the you can't hate on the Rise of Skywalker as much as some people want to, because the Rise of Skywalker made a lot of stuff in Legends canon, right? All these old Sith lords are canon now, right? Uh, did they make Revan canon? I gotta look at I haven't looked at my visual dictionary in a long time, but they like named out the different fleets of um, of the Final Order, and I thought Revan was one of them, but I don't remember Darth Revan. Um, but anyway, so I mean, the Rise of Skywalker made a lot of stuff of Legends canon, right? And now it's like, well, when are we going to get the stories about those? You just have to wait patiently. Um, the dark side, the prophets of the dark side, Sith cultists, right? Um, Tashu was one of them. Uh, People who were high-ranking military officials within the Empire, who were high-ranking military officials within the First Order, were Sith cultists loyal to Palpatine. How do we know that everyone who was a Sith cultist was continued to remain loyal to Palpatine? Moff Gideon could easily have been a Sith cultist who actually was Force sensitive, right? Maybe he followed the Sith religion, but he didn't have any actual training, but he could have discovered his Force sensitivity. Um, there was the one girl in Aftermath who somehow she developed Force powers, right? In She had that lightsaber, or the mask of what's that dude's name that had the mask that was possessing people um, in the Lando book, and then Vader. the architect, and he like resurrected himself through after mere moment. What Moment's mask giving kind of giving people, well, it was possessing them. I'm not gonna say it was giving them force abilities, but it possessed them. Um, but what happened with that girl in Aftermath? Like she took the lightsaber and um, killed her boyfriend or something. You know, there's any number of possibilities to explain Moff Gideon slipping through the cracks and Palpatine handpicking him to be in a leadership position because he had some innate force ability that was went undiscovered. I mean, even look at Palpatine. Look at Palpatine himself. How did he become a Sith Lord and not a Jedi? If he's born on Naboo, how did they not? So it's easy. There's an easy explanation for how he can be force sensitive and not have been a Jedi. And the easiest one for why he's not an Inquisitor is because he wasn't a Jedi, right? And he was already working probably in the ISB, you know, when the Inquisitor, when they started recruiting kids from the Imperial Academy to become Inquisitors, right? To join the Inquisitorius, right? He was too old for training, right? Palpatine, Palpatine is a smart guy, right? He probably that's in Legends too. Palpatine had force sensitive people scattered throughout the Empire in Legends, and a lot of why not? John Favreau is obviously uh, pulling a lot of things from Legends into the Mandalorian series, right? I think he kind of said he was going to. So why can't that be the case? That Palpatine, yeah, I mean, because I mean that's if Colonel Yularen knew. But I mean, obviously, if this dude is skilled and talented and good at what he did, what he was doing, yeah, obviously Yularen would have wanted him to stay within the ISB and not. No, we don't need to send him there. No, we keep him where he is. He's excellent. He's one of our best assets in the field, and we need him there on Mandalorian because Mandalorians are crazy. Right. So you're right. Right. I mean, it totally makes sense for him to be for him to have that talent and to be somewhere else. And then when it comes time to put somebody in the highest of positions within the empire, yes, we're gonna make this guy a Moff, right? Yes, I want. It would make a lot of sense for Palpatine to have like his most talented people at the top, closest to him, right? So, though, I mean, those are my thoughts. Like I said, I'm probably gonna take everything I've said and condense this into a shorter video where it's kind of nice and tight and not so many tangents. But I think that's what I'm gonna start doing is when I'm trying to brainstorm uh, ideas or I just want to hash something out. I just hop on live in the morning where I get my day started and hash it out with y'all. But I don't want this one to drag on for 2 hours because if I do leave up the replay, people don't watch here that long. So I'm in it on this note. Y'all in the U.S. get some sleep. It's like 11 in Nashville. It's midnight for y'all on the East Coast. So yeah, y'all. Thanks for hanging out. I will holler at y'all on the next one. Yesterday's video about Ray, I actually have cut that down considerably. The raw file is like 23 minutes, but there's a lot of outtakes because you'll see the way I recorded it and it's scripted. So I wrote out everything. I had to like get up and my my iPad that was my teleprompter is back in the U.S. and I'm using like my Kindle Fire, and the Kindle Fire is not a good. It's not good for a teleprompter, so I need to get my hands on some kind of tablet I got a bootleg Chinese one, but it won't it won't run it won't run the app that I need that I write my scripts in. So it's like I either got to get creative and figure out how to get my scripts onto that so I can get it into the teleprompter, or find another tablet to get that done. Because I kept having to get up, like the screen would turn off, it would get hot, turn off, and it was like shit, man. I or wouldn't scroll right, just crazy stuff was happening. So hopefully it won't be 20 minutes long, but all of the meat of what I said is in that much shorter version. So I'm gonna try to get that up, get that edited today and get it up tomorrow. Yeah, tomorrow for y'all. Well, yeah, it'd be tomorrow for me, but yeah, tomorrow for y'all too. Friday for me. Uh, what day is it? Okay, so yeah, Thursday for y'all. So yeah, I don't. I get confused thinking about all the times and days, and it's already Thursday here. It messed me up for the Marvel Avengers beta because it was like, yeah, it starts Friday at 9. I'm like, it's already Friday. It's 10. It's 10 a.m. When's the beta start? And then it was like, oh, it starts 9 p.m. Australia time, which is like 7 my time or 6, something like that. I don't remember. So yeah, good times. Anyway, y'all, thanks for hanging out. Y'all keep on breathing, and I'll see you in the next video.